Pleasure of the board.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Under discussion,
Yep.
the minutes for March 1st, I've written down what I believe is a discrepancy in the last item, and I could forward that on to Joyce to fix, so I'd like to exclude that.
What, in
No, go to the last page.
very last page?
Yeah, job descriptions, the way it reads. That's something we requested back in June. In other words, they didn't come
Yeah,
here yet.
yeah. Okay.
I've marked this up.
So this one motion, submit as amended.
Okay. Well, it's excluding the last paragraph until that
Exactly.
gets corrected. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have the 5 Mile Walk for Hunger Committee. If you'd like to come forward, please. Good evening.
My name is Paul Keene, and I'm this year's president of St. Vincent de Paul. And we have Dr. Teresa Kane with We Community Services, and Walk Champagne, former selectman, and this year's chairman of the Walk for Hunger. And gentlemen, the committee for the 5 Mile Walk for Hunger is again asking your support for our walk to be held, and that's on Saturday, May 27th, 2006, which is Memorial Day weekend. And as you know, this Walk for Hunger is sponsored by the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Wheat Community Services, and the Item Appeal. Our 3 agencies work collaboratively to assist unfortunate families and children with emergency food, fuel, housing, and clothing, utilities, and a host of other needs. The needs of our citizens is so great that it was decided that the 3 charities work together to raise funds, and the proceeds will go to St. Vincent de Paul, Wheat, and the Item Appeal. The Community Cafe and the James 215 Senior Lunch Program also. In honor of Memorial Day, we are dedicating the walk again this year to veterans currently serving on active duty and to local veterans living and deceased. And last year, you kicked off our 5 Mile Walk with a donation of $750. And we are hopeful that you can do the same again this year.
I'd like to make a motion that we make a donation of $750 to the 5 Mile Walk for Hunger.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Be all in favor of that? We'll let you continue with the reading of the letter.
And the second request that we would have is that we would like to hang the banner that says Walk for Hunger across High Street from May 8th to May 28th to encourage people to participate in the walk.
Pleasure of the board.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Under discussion, just again, it is on Saturday, May 28th?
27th. May
27th, excuse me, so it's coming down the day after the
Day,
walk.
yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to thank you for your support.
Thank you
Good luck.
very much.
It's nice weather and obviously a great cause, so
And we
good luck.
encourage everyone to either walk or sponsor a walker.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Motion to go out of order.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
It's 7:04. We have a Class 2 dealer license for 7:10, so we've got a few minutes. Move to the administrative business. Is there a second?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Administrative business. Mike, want to run with it?
Sure, there's just a couple of items. The town hall custodian is asking for support to petition the finance committee for a reserve fund transfer in the amount of $500 to cover the cost of a new commercial vacuum for the town hall. The machine he currently has is about 10 years old. It's being held together with duct tape, and he has some problems with it right now, and he's getting a repair estimate of about $350 to get it back into shape again. So thinking that he's gotten his worth out of that, and his budget is tight, so I don't know if it wouldn't be enough to cover this expense for the remainder of the year with his budgeted expense. So he's asking if the board would consider sending that request to the Finance Committee.
It's the pleasure of the board.
So moved, Mr. Chair, as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next is we have police, fire, DPW monthly reports for the period of February 2006.
It's the pleasure of the board.
So moved as presented to the board, Mr. Chair.
And that's for all three
All three.
reports. Up.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Moving to old and new business. You can skip the first one because we're going to be discussing that in a few minutes. Town Hall Use Commission. We were submitted with a letter at our last meeting, recommendations by the Town Hall Use Commission. I hope the board had time to review the request, and I'd ask them to support the request by the Town Hall Use Commission, helping them put a little more structure behind what they do, and they are committed to helping us coordinate the use of the town hall. So what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Down to discussion.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask Joyce, there's something that's going to be done all the time before we just accept this.
We're hoping for that.
No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
We also had road opening specs and water regulations that the Superintendent of Public Works had submitted to us. Are the selectmen comfortable in taking action tonight, or do you want more time? What is the board's stand on this?
The road opening one, I'm fine. I still haven't quite digested that entire water one.
So you just want to hold off until we...
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
there's a lot to go through
So
there.
motion, we'll table that again. You want to make that in the form of a motion, Chuck?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we table that until our next meeting.
Okay.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Under discussion, would you like to have the superintendent back in case you have questions in regards to the regs?
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll make a note to have the superintendent. Any further discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
That requires no action. We did receive a letter from the Clinton Retirement Board in regards to disability retirements. I'm hoping that the board has read that letter. They are concerned about early disabilities and really in regards to their notification of someone being injured on the job. I'd like to make, as I think we should enforce a policy that, our department heads are notifying both this office and the retirement board as soon as an injury does occur, when it's there's a possibility that it's going to require early retirement.
Maybe we could even ask the insurance company, because they get the reports and they process them, so ask if they could even CC a notice to the retirement board as well, too. So it's
Yeah.
being handled directly from the insurance, and they're sending out notices and just add another CC to their list. They have, our workers' comp insurer has come out, or has offered to come out, put together a plan, because we were seeing some workers' comp cases as well, which some of them turned into retirement cases. We had a meeting scheduled tentatively for tomorrow with department heads to get input to the insurance company for the different needs and different claims that we've been having. This has been for the last couple of years, some big cases, but and then they were going to come back and then put together a plan which they would give the town that we could try to work off of. However, the gentleman lost control person who was heading that up, I guess, had left the company, and they canceled that meeting. So they're going to get back to me with another date. The retirement board had expressed interest in being there as well as the other major departments in town, but I don't have a new date as of yet to be able to do that. But I think that'll help, try to address some of this issue as well.
Okay, so it appears that there's work being done to address that issue.
Yeah, our workers' company is very aware and involved and wanting to try and get more active as well.
Okay. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, do we have an official safety program going on with the town hall and the departments? For example, if something happens, does an accident report get filled out? Is there an after-action report done as to why it happened? Was it something, a mistake, was it lack of training? Something more formalized to understand why these accidents are happening, and do we measure that?
Yeah, probably not on a case-by-case basis. I mean, there is an accident report filed, and each department would then handle each issue as it comes along to either take corrective action or try to look into it further. We, again, through our workers' comp insurance, we have a safety committee that meets a couple of times a year to try to review more global issues and not the case-by-case issues, but try to work more on safety issues themselves. They've gone into, like the DPW specifically, they've done training, lifting, back support training, that type of thing, equipment, safety equipment. So they kind of look at it on a global level, but we don't have a formal program in place to deal with each individual case as it comes up. It's within each department to try and either resolve or rectify or deal with the injury with the employee themselves. So, but it's something maybe we could, as part of this process, is to try to put that in the plan, that there is an evaluation done after each case. I mean, sometimes there are things you can't avoid, but if there's something that was there for a long period of time and it caused an injury, well, that thing should have been moved.
A lot of times you get to see what type of accidents you're having. You start getting some history and some statistics. You can understand where you need the training, and what areas you need training.
Exactly.
And you can at least pinpoint to that area and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah, and this is what this plan was going to hopefully try to address some of that, absolutely. Look at the lost runs for the past, and then talk with departments, and then come up with a global plan. But like you said, the individual case, as to what someone trip or someone fall, or, analyzing that specific case, we would just try to put something in place. But maybe as part of that, we could also put in a report on each, on each
And this
incident.
program's already come like that. It's just a question of, checking that out.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Mike.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions or comments? It appears that we don't need to take action tonight just due to the process that's already begun.
Right.
And that, maybe we should let we are in the process of letting the retirement board know that we're trying to coordinate.
Exactly, because
Okay.
we had been working on this prior to the letter. So when the letter came in, I did speak with members of the retirement board and asked if they would be interested in following up on what we were doing, and they were very enthusiastic about that and did want to get involved. So I will keep them in the loop as we go forward. But they were seeing it on their end with the accidental retirements, but we were seeing it prior on the worker comp cases that we were trying to deal with on the lost runs and lost ratios with the workers comp cases themselves.
Okay. So we don't need to do that action. All right, it's passed. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had any for
No.
all the new business, but there was one other, I know we're over the 10 past, but there was a letter I put on the board table today, an issue that just came up as well since we did the packet with the post office. And the only reason I'm bringing it up tonight is because there was a date on there which would be prior to the board's next meeting. The postal officer in charge of the postmaster here in Clinton has sent a letter indicating that they were trying to save resources and they don't want to make deliveries to individual offices in the town hall. Right now, the postman will come by and separates the departmental mail and brings one to each department. They want to just bring one big bin and drop it in the building and go from there. So some of the departments have a concern about that. about some sensitive mail and different issues. And I was asking maybe if the board would allow me to maybe write a letter back to them and ask if they give us some time to review this and come up with a plan. The letter just came in, and next week, the 20th, I think, which is Monday, they want to start doing this without really, this is how it's been forever, so without really giving us an opportunity to bring our departments together and find a way to resolve this. We don't have any central mail room here. We don't have any staff person, that would be dedicated to do that, because each individual office does it themselves. So just to drop a bin here next Monday, I think would be quite burdensome.
I'd like to see if the board would be willing to, in a letter, ask for them to reconsider,
Right.
due to the sensitivity of some of the documents that come into town hall.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to reconsider the move, at a minimum, give us a 30-day or 60-day window to get prepared for it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rest of the boards.
Well, minimum, you need to get ready for it. I mean,
Yeah.
2 days, and it's not like it's difficult, but you need to coordinate the effort.
Right.
I mean, where are you gonna do it? It's gonna be upstairs, downstairs,
Right, because then it would have, again, someone would have to be, would be responsible, because they would have to separate and then deliver, because
But I thought it would still be separated, I thought, though.
right now it is, but it won't
It's not,
be.
or it's not
It
going
won't
to be
be.
separated,
No.
it's just gonna be one big lump.
Yeah, right now,
white bin of
the
mail.
carrier, the carrier for this route gets his mail, and he separates it out by department, and he knows historically by delivering the mail, what mail goes to what, because sometimes it just says Town of Clinton, but he can tell sometimes by the type of mail where it should go. So he separates it out, and we still have some, some issues that we kind of transfer to each other, but he separates it out and then delivers it. But I think at this point, again, they want to try to save his time for separating and his time from going office to office. So I think it's just going to be addressed to 242 Church Street, and it's just going to be all funneled into a bin and then dropped off at the front door here at the town hall.
Who's going to sign for the certifieds and all that?
Because what,
Exactly. That's
You've got a lot of that.
Exactly, yeah, that's another whole issue. So whoever that person that's gonna get that bin would have to sign all those cards and take responsibility for someone else's office of accepting their mail and then ensuring that it's gonna get to them. Like I say, not that it's insurmountable, but just kind of putting that on us yesterday and say, Monday, we're gonna do this to you, so.
see, I thought they were gonna sort it and just give it to one person. That's what they do in Worcester, in Program, in the courthouse in Worcester. They separate everybody's mail and you pick it up in one spot. By postal. I don't see why they couldn't do that with Mark, but she sent them a letter, see if they would reconsider that at a minimum. At least have it separated
Right.
when they deliver it. It's not gonna take another 10 minutes to do it.
If they don't do that, you're gonna have to have some kind of contingency, because they are the federal government.
Well, they
They
do.
come and say, March 20th, that's it, sorry, here you go.
Right, but they do it for Worcester, so it should be standardized in what they do, though.
Sure, yeah,
But
sure, of
the-
course.
At least we can ask them to reconsider.
Exactly, at a minimum.
And, option B is, please sort by
Sort it.
department for us and leave it in the bin.
Right.
Option C is, here you go,
Here you go.
here's the bin.
Yeah,
That's,
so, I don't know.
I make a motion that we option reconsider, at a minimum, second to sort, and last, I guess, free for all, I guess.
What's my-
With 30, well, at least 30 days or 60 days to
Yeah,
implement it.
yes.
6 weeks. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Most has been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll return to the
Thank you.
Class 2 license hearing. Come forward, please. Julie? Hello.
Hi.
Could you just state your names for the record, for the secretary, and address?
Julie Trini, 3 Oak Ridge Drive, Clifton.
Robert Turanian, 3 Oak Ridge Drive.
Okay. And this is Class 2 hearing to expand your license to 25.
Correct.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about why you want to do it and how many cars you've been moving?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar where the place is, across from the fire station. And we got one lot now, and there's nobody next door now where D'Amico was. So that's going to be available. So we were figuring if we could get that, We get more cars down there. You know, the old saying, variety is the spice of life. There's many different peoples, they like all different types of cars. Sometimes you get a car, and you look at it for a year while it sits there. It's taking up the space. And there's been times when I've counted 20 cars where I am now, and it's hard to keep the flow going without having extra cars. And you don't want to go against, you got a 12-car license now. Don't want to go against that and have trouble. So I'm just what I'm trying to do is, I'm thinking out loud and trying to shape the future. And, you know, if we get the lot next to it, there's work going on there now, cleanup. And we would clean that up also. And in the future, who knows, might be able to buy the place, you know. There's all my cards.
Yeah. Okay. Questions from the board? Is it? Steve?
I have one question. How many cars you sell now a month, would you say? Do you have the logs of that with you?
Not enough. It's some months. I was down there for 3 months last summer. I went there every day. Didn't sell a car. I sold one car and it came back. So it can be frustrating.
So you think going from 12 to 25 is going to make that substantially better?
Well, it's going to give you a chance to have an array of different types of cars. I mean, some people come in, they want a Volvo. Other people, all they'll buy is a Honda Accords or SUVs, and they like the Toyotas. You know, but then you got the regular, other people come in, they want an American car. You don't know what they want. The one thing they want is a cheap car. It's going to run for 3 or 4 years.
And won't break.
And it's going to pass inspection. It's hard to do. So your answer is sometimes you don't sell anything for a month. Then other times you'll sell 3 or 4.
So is part of your problem, say you have 12 cars on your lot, and you find a couple at auction you want to buy, you're kind of stuck.
You can't do nothing.
Because you pick 12 on your lot.
Right.
You don't want to go above it because then you might be up here in trouble.
But it might be a good deal for you to buy it and have it for sale, and you're kind of stuck and you can't do
Right.
that.
Kind of like, and where that extra law is available, I kind of wanted to, you know, go over there.
Right.
The more space you got, the more cars that they can see. Plus now, with the work that's been done down there, they have to stop there for the stoplights. So when they're stopped there, they're rubbernecking, you know, they're looking around, and that's a good thing.
How much space do you have over there now?
That-
You will have, I mean,
It's almost 2 full lots. I don't know how the town goes by it, but it's a double lot. There's 2 addresses there.
Where D'Amico's used to be, that's all open now. So that's where we want to expand
just trying to
to.
visualize how it would look.
You could put 50 cars there easily, with both lots.
You don't foresee any like problems with people going in and...
There's only one entrance now, and then that's how they go in and out.
25 is the number you need?
Well, it's just a number I just threw out there. I didn't know, you know, if somebody would have a problem with it. If you want to give me 50, you know? You know, that's what I'm saying.
You planning to build a repair shop in there as well?
There's a building there now.
In the new lot, I mean, are you going to add another
The
building?
new
there?
lot, I don't see any building going on
Okay.
there. Like I say, what we're trying to do is form the future. I don't know none of us can tell the future. You know, we don't know what might happen.
Just trying to make it better.
There could be, if I bought it, or if we get a hold of it, who knows, we could put a mini mall in there or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's a bunch of people moving in next door.
Right. Okay. This is a public hearing, so we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition to this license increase? Anyone that would speak in favor of it? We'll close the public hearing aspect of it. Any members of the board have any other comments? Pleasure of the board.
I'm sorry, I just wanted, just for the record, just to let the board know, I did, the application was submitted to the building inspector for review, and he didn't come back with any new comments or issues. Zoning wise, it's okay.
I would make a motion that we allow them to go ahead and give them the extra car lots. They run a fine, reputable business in town. Mr. Tarini and his wife run a clean, it's always clean, and the cars are nice and they look attractive, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Is that pending that they get the rental property, or?
Yeah.
You need that a lot to be able to do it, correct? Is that?
Well, unless you give me the 25 car lots, that's where I am. You know, there's
Can you
plenty
fit
of room.
25 in there?
Yeah, easily.
Way in the back, he said plenty.
Oh, okay.
So the motion's been made to increase to 25.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good work.
The red light comes on a lot.
I'd like to remind anybody if they need a car to come down. Also, if your friends need one, send them down, please.
Get the airtime now.
Down low.
Okay, next up, we have a joint meeting with the Personnel Board. Members of the Personnel Board would like to come up, or at least the chair. As you do come up, I would like to just make a couple comments to set some of the records straight. There's been an awful lot of press, obviously, in regards to the classification and pay grade for a candidate, a very good candidate, but also just in regards to the position. And some of the quotes by some members of this board were inaccurate. And as chair, I respect your position as an autonomous board that makes decisions based on what you feel are best for the non-union employees in this town. That I, as chair, have had zero contact with every member of the Personnel Board in regards to this issue. Not once have I talked to any one of you to either influence you or guide you or direct you. So I respect your positions. I respect the fact that you take the time to help this town. And when there are quotes in the paper about dirty politics and things like that, it's a nonsense. You people deserve more respect than that. They don't have to respect me, but they do have to respect you. And unless there's clear facts where I influenced you, it's inappropriate to be commented like that. I think you're professionals. You take your jobs seriously, and we owe you the courtesy of doing your job. And then we can clearly have discussion and understand your position and why you take positions, but you do not answer to this board. You answer to the non-union employees of the town of Clinton and to the citizens of Clinton. But we do not direct you, nor do we require you to answer to us. So we appreciate you coming forward to have a discussion regarding this. But again, for the record, I did not ever discuss this position or its pay grade or any candidates with the members of the Personnel Board. So I'd like that to be noted in the record, and I would respect the Personnel Board to be able to go ahead and start this meeting off with any discussion you may want to have in regards to this position and your pay grade.
Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce, I'm Mary Ann Castillo, and I'm chair of the Personnel Board. This is David McIntyre, Brendan Bailey, and Paul Baldessari. Okay, and so first of all, I want to give each of you a typewritten of what our vote was. Unfortunately, we received it in a handwritten situation because we had met in an emergency meeting that had to be posted, and so we met just before your last board meeting. So we just, and in order to get it to you in a timely manner, we hand wrote it. We would have stayed had we known that we would have been allowed to be on the agenda and that it was going to be up for discussion. So, because we're delighted to let you know and also let the citizens of Clinton know what we're trying to accomplish, and I'm sure you're all trying to accomplish the same thing. Relative to our decision, I'm going to yield to my fellow board member, David McIntyre, and he can explain exactly why, and with respect to the bylaws, our decision was such. David?
Thank you. Gentlemen, the communications that we initially received regarding this, although one could have interpreted your letter in more than one way, we felt that it was necessary to read it in its most exact form without making any logical leaps of faith concerning the information that was in that correspondence when you asked us to consider the step and grade for the position that was vacant for the building inspector. And where we began was initially looking at the fact that you recognized that a new hire would be brought in at the starting step and grade, which would be 14-1. And in your letter, I'm working from memory, I believe at some point you then said you would like to offer a grade and step of 14-6. We took two positions on that it either was a request for reclassification under Part 3 of the Personnel Bylaws, which is the Compensation and Classification section, wherein under Section 3(1)(5), reclassification requires that before a position can be reclassified, a request in writing be made to the Personnel Board to review the present classification in light of the reclassification request. The other alternative we had was to look at section in the same Part 3, 2-3, concerning starting rates for new appointments. Therein, as you all know, your letter highlighted that specific section, and you noted that a new hire, as I said a moment ago, would come in at a starting grade of 14-1. The exception that's included in section 3-2, or excuse me, 323, is that if the Board of Selectmen was presented with a lack of qualified applicants or someone who had exceptional qualifications. And as I said, we defaulted to an exact reading of your initial correspondence. Obviously, a logical leap of faith could have been made that you were telling us just that. But respectfully, we also believed that the interpretation was equally as available, that you had a pool of applicants who were qualified. This eliminated the second exception in 323. That left us only with exceptional qualifications. And although you indicated that you had an applicant with state certification and 3 years as an assistant building inspector in another town, again, I understand it could be easily interpreted that you were saying that you viewed that as an exceptional qualification. We respectfully also felt that the interpretation, although perhaps obvious to some, may not necessarily have been to others. For that reason, the Board of Selectmen, being what is outlined as the appointing authority, was the starting point for telling us, the Personnel Board, that this specific candidate had either met the qualifications of an exceptional employee or an exceptional candidate, or that you lacked qualified applicants. Without that specific direction, we felt that our hands were tied. It wasn't that we were seeking to hamstring the committee in any way or impede the process. It was, we felt that we were not given specific directions as to how you viewed the candidate. Or, again, as I mentioned earlier, were you attempting to reclassify the position, which if that was the case, then there were steps that we felt needed to be taken first to reach that reclassification. We believe that it is possible for the selectmen to offer to any candidate at this point a step and grade of 14-6 if you either reclassify or you exercise the exceptions under 323. So I hope that answers your question as to why we responded to your correspondence the way we did. It was, we felt that we were without other recourse. It was not our position that we wished to, impede the process or to somehow create conflict where none existed.
So are you indicating then that if the board clarifies that their position was under section 3.23, that they felt that they had an exceptional candidate with exceptional qualifications, that you would reconsider their request, which was to put it at that higher grade, which is grade 14, step 6?
Well, we would have, there would be one point here. One of the more important things that we had stated in our response on that vote was the fact, and maybe it exists, maybe it does not exist, but we felt it was very important to have a job description. And we feel that still is. We feel that there has to be, going forward, when someone leaves a position, a non-union employee, that there should be a new job description written, that the person leaving that position should be interviewed to find out how that position has changed. And then at that point, if the department head, or in this case, the appointing authority, which is the selectman, would like to change the salary or have it reconsidered, that it be presented so that in this way, the personnel board can look at it, also check with other towns to see how it fits in. We have towns of the same size, the same building going on, see how competitive we are. And then from there, it would be the job description, what you consider to be the classification, and so on and so forth, presented to the personnel board, and then put in the paper. And I think if we did that in the future, that we wouldn't be having a meeting like this. It would all be very concise and clear, and we'd all be crossing our T's and dotting our I's. And in this case, we were reading the bylaws to the letter. And I think everyone here wants us to do that. And so therefore, it doesn't prevent the current applicant or the person that you currently appointed from getting that position. But I think it's good to go over this and so we all understand. I mean, there's so many different bylaws to different boards that it's good to go over them and find out where we do stand. And we all don't want this kind of miscommunication in the future. I'm sure everyone here doesn't. So, does anybody have any questions? Mr. Sargent, you had said you could repeat that question so we can...
You want me to repeat my question?
Mm-hmm.
No, my question was, from reading the board's letter, it seems that they had two parts to it. The first part was they were using the exception under the bylaw, which was section 3.23, to indicate that it was their opinion that they essentially had an exceptional candidate that had exceptional qualifications. And therefore, they were basically asking you to use your discretion to allow them to offer a higher rate of pay to that individual. Mm-hmm. The second part of their request was that they wanted you to consider a reclassification for the position going forward. But I think a reasonable interpretation of both of those requests is they were separate and distinct. Mm-hmm. And I think what they were asking you to do was to rule on the first one first and then the second one. So in light of the better understanding of what the board's letter indicated, would the personnel board be inclined to at least hear the board tonight and possibly reconsider their decision on at least the higher pay?
Right, and as when we stated in our response, if the current applicant refuses grade 14, step 1, the personnel board would consider a new written job description for the building inspector. The job description should include hours, duties, and requirements of the position. Coupled with the job description should be a request for reclassification of step and grade. The personnel board will act in a timely fashion to consider this request. So that to me seems reasonable. I'm sure you must have at your disposal here, you must have a job description available to you.
But you're also, your last sentence is saying the amended job description and consideration of step and grade approval, the Board of Selectmen can then re-advertise the position.
Can re-advertise the position.
So I guess my question for clarification, because we do have a candidate, could we just give that candidate the step and grade increase? Or are you saying that the approval of a step and grade increase would require us to then go forward and re-advertise, whereby that candidate could then reapply. I just want to make sure that we all understand.
Two things from this.
Yeah.
I'm not really clear what you're telling me.
Well, what we're basically telling you is that in order for the grade 14 in the step 1 to be increased to grade 14 step 6, we would have to, as Mr. McIntyre had stated, we would have to receive something to the effect that the person or the candidate has outstanding qualifications and what those qualifications are. That's what it says. In order, you are the appointing authority. You have the authority, okay? We're just advising you that relative to the bylaws, as part of the letter, it's supposed to be outstanding and let us know why, in essence, this step should be changed.
If I could just add slightly to that, when you indicate that someone has exceptional qualifications, what we're saying to you is just spell out what are the qualifications that you believe are exceptional, because if you have a pool of qualified candidates, then, as I pointed out earlier, the second exception doesn't apply. If all of your candidates are, in theory, qualified that you chose to interview, one or more of them would have to rise above what you've received as a pool of general qualifications that would have made it permissible for you to consider them as candidates. So if you have someone with exceptional qualifications, when you would communicate that to us, we would ask that you merely tell us what those exceptional qualifications are. I believe an ordinary reading of our bylaws, if we were, we are a neutral party, a board that considers all issues with an open mind and, doesn't exclude any of the relevant facts or circumstances, we would then, there would be no way for us to permissibly deny your request. What we were asking for is to, again, as I said, I know that your letter, one could make a leap of faith easily that you were in fact saying that. We respectfully believe that there's more than one interpretation to your initial correspondence, and for that reason, if a second correspondence was sent wherein this was spelled out, unless you were to provide us with a list of exceptional qualifications that respectfully were absurd, obviously that would provide us with a basis of saying, the qualifications that you are pointing out are either non-applicable to the position or are commonplace and ordinary.
See, I interpret that letter to say, what Dennis said, is that the candidate's exceptional based on the fact that he had a license, yet he's an assistant building inspector in the town already and with experience. To me, based on the other candidates, that person had to be qualified, the other candidates didn't. So that's how I interpreted that. So I didn't expect that with leap of faith, but I thought it was clear. But it's too, you can interpret it like the way it was.
Well,
Well,
quite honestly, we didn't receive the candidate's resume. So how would we have known? No, I have it. I have asked.
No, but is that common practice now? You want the whole packet?
No, it's not. The whole packet is not the case. The practice. What we're trying to get across here is that when a non-union employee leaves their position or submits their resignation, that in essence, the person leaving, whether it be retiring or going on to bigger and better, should be interviewed and then find out how the job description has changed. A new job description should be written, and in the process of doing that, you would, whether it be the Board of Selectmen or it be another department head, would find out where do we stand relative to this pay scale. That's why, as we were talking about, we're trying to redo the salary and grid.
But who initiates this process?
I thought it was the personnel board.
No, the personnel board, that's partly why we're here, so that we can clarify these issues. Yeah, no, actually, no, the job descriptions are written by the department heads, and in this case, you would be the department head. And in essence, presents the job description, and then if there is a reason to reclassify, that's when it's brought to the personnel board. And we can either be requested to review it and also find out if there are different, what the salary should be, and so on and so forth. So that's really, we don't write job descriptions.
And I understand, and you said that to us 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
You said it very clearly.
Yeah.
The guy, okay? What happened was, we got to this point without doing it. So I'd like to get past the fact that we got to this point without doing that, and see what we can do to hire a building inspector at this point. That's what I'm at. And I feel that the candidate we have has the qualifications that we need to do that. And I believe that we need to hire him at step 6. So I guess that's where I'm at.
So my question, again, is if we were to clarify our position to you all, that this is an outstanding candidate that is superior than any other candidate that we had, step 6 could be approved, and the grade would be approved with the new job description,
As an appointing authority, that is the case.
without re-advertising.
That's correct.
Okay. That's what I just wanted to be clear, that if we regrade and put this person at step 6, and his position when he starts is also now moving into a new grade category, that you're saying that we don't have to advertise.
That's right. The bottom line said, the last sentence said, you can re-advertise.
We don't have, we can't. If I could just ask the chair, are you saying that you want to hire the person and let the candidate know, not only will you be hired at the step 6, grade 14, but that you also shall be reclassified at the time of your hire to a higher?
That was, yes, Bob, that was the letter and that was the motion. The motion was that we're going to hire the candidate at step 14, at step 6, grade 14, and request a reclassification or regrading of the position.
Down the road.
No, that was petition to the personnel board. It wasn't done.
All right. Just get to that point, so that there is clarification, so we don't get in the habit of it. The board is agreeable to grade level and the step that you're requesting, or within that range, okay? The reclassification to a higher grade would take place and would not be effective until the next fiscal period. We have to stay within the, that's my job, that's why I'm on this board. And that's one of the reasons that I want to make sure that when I go before the board, that the point is made, that this is what they're going to do, so that down the road, we don't have an unbalanced budget for that particular department. You can't exceed what you've already got for the fiscal
Understood.
If I could continue for a moment, are you going to communicate to the candidate that he shall be reclassified? Because, I mean, obviously it's beyond the scope here, but if I could just point out, I think that he would be able to materially rely upon something that can't be guaranteed. I mean, yes, you can make a request to us to consider reclassification of his position, and we will obviously do that in a very expeditious manner and to the extent that you ask us to address that issue. But within the constructs of what we're dealing with for the present budget.
I believe that's what our intent was. That was my thought of the intent.
Okay.
Again, Mark, you understand reclassification, bringing him down to step 17, 6 step, bring him down to
17,
step 1.
Right, yeah. We knew that.
Well, this is why if we were going, it would have brought a problem. I think kind of, people got to realize, the personnel board is also here to protect other employees and to make sure that there's no bad feelings about them. If you take somebody that's just left, that's done a good job for the town, you're going to take him and put him down to classification grade 17, step 6, or even where he's going to get, equal what he's doing. If you go down to 17, he'd be making more than the present building inspector. And I think you've got to be careful with these other, non-personnel, that's their job. They see what their job is relative to us. And if they look at this job, well, this job is not as important. We're going to have everybody come in, and, we just can't live with those budgets.
Let me be clear on my position. I am not in favor of a step 6 or a reclassification of the job without it being re-advertised. So my point was that we were going to allow a new grade to come in July of '07 for fiscal year '07, and that position should have been re-advertised so that we could have had a pool of more than one outstanding candidate. That was my position. So you're given a candidate that's being, by the majority of this board, viewed as being an outstanding candidate. But he's one candidate, and now the financial picture behind that job has changed potentially significantly. And that could have increased your pool of candidates. That's what my position is. Not to take away, the candidate is qualified and a very good candidate. He presented himself well to us. But when you look at the whole pool or the picture of what you're looking at dollar-wise in '07 or beyond, then, you know, you could have reached out to more potential candidates in the pool. And not to say that he couldn't have still risen to the top, but there may have been other ones to have been considered. That's all. That was my position. It was never against the candidate. It was about the process that the board kind of moved to a regrade and re-step. You know, changing the step within his current grade and then moving forward with a new grade classification into the next year. It was guaranteeing a whole other scale, pay scale for a person really just starting up in a position, and I thought that was inappropriate.
Well, the part of it too is that's why I think this has all occurred, is I agree that the process, you know, the processes change and people change. And so that if the process was done accordingly from the beginning, we might have had more applicants. There might have been, who knows where that salary level might have fallen. And so, you know, if I personally, according to the appointing authority, you would be able to do that to that particular step and grade. However, I can state my personal views. I am in agreement with you.
And I agree with you that we should always do that to begin with. But I can tell you, this board in the past, we've interviewed candidates and we've offered an amount, and they said, well, we can't really do it at that. And we've gone back and hired those candidates at a different grade. So we have done it in the past.
Different step.
Different step. But we have done it for candidates before. So I concur with you, Mary, I concur with you also that we should do it all the time. But we need to be consistent, and we haven't been so far. So I think let's put this behind us, let's start being consistent. I have no problem with that.
Well, that's because, you know, Mr. Basidlo is a relatively new selectman, and we have new members of the board here, so that it's kind of creating a team effort going forward. You know, we can't know everything every time.
It's been a learning experience, but it also is frustrating because I think the bylaws should be reviewed, and they haven't been. And I think to any candidate coming for a job, to say you're only worth the minimum amount of salary is an injustice to anybody applying for a job here. Because when these folks got their letters, there was a salary range given. So, and to say that a candidate leaving, another person comes in and starts at a higher rate, well, the candidate coming in is state certified. The candidate in the current position, no injustice to that person, hasn't had that state certification.
But in essence, Mr. Pasquale, when the letter was written, that step and grade had not been changed.
No, and we're not asking
Okay.
you to change the step and grade. All we were asking was to give the new hire the rate of pay that the old building inspector is receiving, and down the road, to look at a possible regrade of the position. That was my interpretation, and that's why I voted the way I did. Because in current towns, the building inspector in our town is being paid very low, comparable to West Boylston, Leominster.
Not arguing that point at all.
So we need to look at that, and to attract good people, I think, you know, it's only fair that if a candidate asks that it should be looked at, and, you know, we can't promise them that it's going to happen. This is government money. It's not like the private sector.
But it's not down the road. The motion was made so the regrade would have taken effect in the next fiscal year, in July. Not down the road. It wasn't something that's pie in the sky. The motion was made for grade 14, step 6, and to reclassify, petition the personnel board to regrade the job.
See, I was of the understanding that after the probationary period was filled, we would move forward and ask the personnel board to review and look at it. That was my interpretation. Shame on me.
I don't recall any discussion about probationary period.
I know, that's what I said.
Under the I know you're getting off all on your mind, but one of the things this board has, and there's been reference made to the past, so the past is the past. And unfortunately, at times, we only had 2 members or 3 members. And I'm a member appointed by the finance committee, I'm not appointed by the board of selectmen. But the point being is that this past year, we made a comment to this board, we made it to other boards, that we are sitting down, we're trying to get it through this fiscal period, but we've been kind of tied up with other problems, as you well know.
Sure.
But what we want to do is we want to set up a reclassification of all those grades and change the salary structure so that there isn't these very small salaries at the bottom. And start at a salary that's competitive with surrounding jobs, the same type of work. We can't do that unless we have complete background in terms of their job. Our job is not to provide jobs. That's the job of the supervisors of the various employees that are non-human. They get that. We can sit down, because it says administrative secretary is this person, this is their responsibility, then they should be at a grade level competitive with other communities or other positions in the town. Same way with the clerk and so forth. That's what we're trying to do now. But nobody's listening to what we're trying to do. Everybody's saying, coming in, we want this, we want that. Well, we can't do it all the time because I'm not about to give them my support with the finance committee if it's going to hurt somebody else that's doing equal work and has equal background and equal qualifications. That's what we're working, that's what this committee is working for. We've been tied up now with this now for a month and a half.
No,
And about what you're asking for, these people are going to recommend to the townspeople.
but we're all on the same page. You know, we all want everyone to get paid a fair wage. We want to be competitive. We're all extremely happy in the way things are going in Clinton, and things are progressing very well. And we agree as a board how important this building inspector's job is. This isn't anything to be taken lightly.
Oh, no.
And so the only reason that we're here and at your request is because it's important. And we feel that our voice should be heard. And we followed the bylaws. So I don't know if you have any other question.
I do have another, I have a comment on the, going from, my glasses, from grade 14, step 6, and then we asked you to potentially reclassify this to a grade 17, I believe it would be. So if you were to go and look at the step 6 salary, okay, which if we recommended that would be fine because that wouldn't break the budget this year, right? The next fiscal year, if this person was hired, he would, and this was reclassified to a grade 17, the step 1 in grade 17 will be 46,960. That's not a huge jump. It's a natural progression, basically, going from a higher end of grade 14 to a low end of grade 17. And I don't see where that's a problem at all fiscally.
But
that is not a
But
problem.
It's not, yeah, it's not a physical, it's not the money year one. It's the concept of, you initially advertised for a candidate that had a scale from the high 30s to the high 40s. You're now taking the position with only one candidate, regrading it to be from the high 40s to the high 50s. So it's a $10,000 increase in the job without offering it to other people, and that's, you don't know and you cannot tell me that there couldn't have been other qualified candidates that would have been interested in a job that would have scaled over time to $58,000 a year, when the one we had offered would only have scaled to $47,000 or $48,000 a year. That could have been why you only had a pool of candidates where you felt that you had one exceptional candidate. I'm just speculating, but that might have been why. And if you feel compelled to regrade it, that's fine. And I feel we do need to regrade it, Joe, because I do think it's important. I think this candidate meets the qualifications to go into that grade. Are there any other candidates that could have been interested or been boxed out because they didn't apply when it was only going to go to 47? And now we're going to say, okay, well, we've got one good guy. We don't want to lose him, so we're going to let the scale go all the way up to 58. and disregard any other potential candidates. That's the issue. It's not this candidate, it's not year one's pay. It's we're sliding the jobs to a whole other grade, increasing by $10,000 without entertaining any other possible candidates that may have been qualified. That's all. So it's not this candidate being wrong for the job in any way, shape, or
Well, no,
form.
of course not. No, the whole thing is that if we started the process earlier, it might have been a case of where, as Mr. Elworthy said, who knows what this particular position at this time, because we haven't really looked into it, would actually be worth, and what you could put it out there at any pay scale. And perhaps if it was reclassified, maybe initially to a 17, there might have been far more people apply.
Plus, I also think that it created a problem amongst a pool of candidates, respectfully, by divulging the scale. Because if we didn't have exceptional candidates or a lack of qualified applicants, then 323 would have required the offering of the entrance grade and step of 14-1. So, and I understand that there was no intent there, but I think it may have complicated the process by divulging the scale before any determination was made about exceptional qualifications.
Right. And I don't disagree with all that stuff, but I guess I just want to move forward with this, because it's my understanding, because I think we asked 6 months ago, we asked your board to look at all the job descriptions that we had to see if they're current or they should be. Did you make that motion a
Yes,
while
it was
back?
yeah.
To make sure to see if those job descriptions were up to speed with what the market prevails. To this day, I have not seen anything.
Well, Mr. Mendoza, I
May
can
finish,
honestly
ma'am?
tell you that I don't have...
May I finish, ma'am?
Yeah,
I didn't
okay.
finish my statement. To this day, I have not seen anything regarding that. So I'm just curious, because I feel like I'm getting slammed over here every time I say something about something else. Please permit me.
Certainly.
And when we've asked for something, and I haven't seen it. Now we're fighting about what we should have done. I agree we look at all of them, because I don't think any one of them are what they need to be, except for the ones we're fighting about. I'm sorry, no.
If I could, please, and I don't mean to interrupt the chairwoman here, this board has only recently reconstituted itself.
I agree.
And earlier on, it was said that our bylaws needed to be reviewed, and that hasn't happened. Respectfully, at the request of Mary Ann, our chairwoman on the personnel board, she instructed me almost immediately upon my appointment to do just that, and a proposal is working through our internal committee of a number of things that we feel is necessary to be updated and reviewed. And in addition, if my comment came off as in any way harsh towards you, sir, it was unintentional. It is more a matter of trying to apply the process as we have, as it's before us, as the bylaws require. It's not a matter of anyone attempting to slam you. If that was communicated, it was unintentional.
And I agree that it takes time to do all these things. I realize that. And I do admire the work you're doing, because you're actively meeting a lot, and I appreciate it. I really do.
One thing, though, that I do want to clarify with one of the comments that you made is the fact that you had said 6 months ago, I am not in receipt of this letter. I know that we came in front of the board on December 15th and explained our position and what we were trying to do, and that we were going forward in order to redo the steps and grades as soon as we received all the job descriptions that were required. We did receive a letter in the fact that you had expected it to be done by January 1st. I do have a response to that letter. We at no time said it would be done by January 1st, nor am I personally in receipt of that letter. It may be in a file, but I'm not, because we would have acted upon it. So, and we understand where you're coming from. So we're delighted to do that. So
do you want a letter?
It's not that we want a letter. We don't need a letter.
No, but I want to make sure, because you don't have it.
But
we
because
asked.
we already on December 15th, without that letter, had come before you and explained our position. So, we're moving forward. And,
So do you have any idea when that may be done? I like working on time limits.
a certain time frame.
Yeah, just to get a ballpark, just so we can measure what's going on.
I would give us about 60 days. Okay.
Do you need a letter, though?
No, we don't need a letter.
Part of what has delayed us is a lack of job descriptions, okay? And as far as reviewing them, it's one thing to hand us a job description that was written 4 years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
okay?
I know.
And then, and I believe that this may have been, I was not privy to any direct contact other than the contact we had with Peter Pender in our own meeting. But outside of that, I have no firsthand knowledge. But it's my understanding that he felt that the duties and responsibility of his job had increased, multiple fold. Well, if we were reviewing his job with his old job description and not having that additional information, then we might make the determination that it was inappropriate to adjust his pay and step based on the old job description. Part of the process that needs to take place is not just providing us with written description of job descriptions. The department heads or the appointing authorities need to update them first and then say to us, this job has changed, and for that reason, we would like you to consider adjustments in grade and pay, or the actual job description itself and duties or hours. And for those reasons, please reclassify or consider reclassifying or providing both reclassification and increase in pay.
And that's fair, I agree with that.
Yeah, this has happened with other department heads. We had a situation in our last meeting where a specific, I would call them a department head or appointing authority, came in and presented a new job description, compared what other towns were making, put the request in a very sound manner, and so on and so forth. And so that's certainly under consideration but now we have a new job description on that particular, actually 2 jobs that are for non-union employees in town. So,
I guess what I'm frustrated at is 2 years ago, when we hired the old building inspector,
yeah,
they started him at step 1.
yeah.
Progress was made. He was upgraded to step 6 in a 2-year time frame. There was no documentation in your file to go back on and to look as to why they upgraded him from 37 to
Yeah, Ms.
46,000?
Driscoll, I can't really answer you on that question because I don't have that information available to me. I have Mr. Pender's, and I carry around my own personal file, okay? I have in my file, I have Mr. Pender's resignation, and I also have Mr. Pender's review, which it was a very good review.
And at that time, when they do pull it,
Pose that question again if you just asked her.
excuse me.
Pose that question if you just asked her. I have a little trouble.
Oh, I'm sorry. What I was wondering, and I'm frustrated, is that when Peter came aboard, they hired him. And in a 2-year picture frame, they upgraded his position from step 1 to step 6. Rightfully so, he learned the job, more duties came on. What's frustrating to me, Mr. Bailey, is that, you guys are saying you have nothing in your office showing an old job description.
That's the job you're talking about.
Yep.
I was one of 3 people who was on this board. We had 3 other members, but his attendance was not so good because of what I'm going to explain. That person was hired was not the same thing happened to that position that happened here. He was appointed, right? He was given a salary, and that was the end of it. If you question that, that's fine, but what are other than he came back 2 years after he realized that the process was he could go to the personnel board and request that his job be classified as to what it should be in terms of salary. And that request was granted by the personnel board, who was submitted to the selectmen, and they put that in his job, in his salary. His increase probably would have been higher at that point had the process been used. And the past is over. What happened in the past was a result of having lack of membership. They had membership, but they were, and I don't want to feel sour grapes, but they felt they were being ignored. Anytime something came up, they'd be asked after the fact, and they didn't want to have that. Some of them left for that.
See, I just thought you'd have a file on every job in the...
You are supposed to, that's the whole process.
But I know
We have a file on every job.
when his step did change more than one regular step,
Right.
that the building inspector came before the board, the sitting board, with a letter outlining why he felt justified in going before the personnel board. He then, with the board's approval, presented his case to the personnel board, and then they afforded it. So the board did not give him a stepping.
No, I'm not saying that,
The
but
process was he presented to the
Isn't there
board a
any
letter.
documentation to show that they're saying they don't have a job description in their file?
There's something we have now.
None. We don't have nine. What I'm saying, in my current file, I have, in Mr. Pender's file,
They constantly ask for them, they don't give it.
yeah,
Okay.
I have his review and I have his letter of resignation. Now, the reviews that we receive, okay, do not, the review doesn't give you a job description. It tells you that, I'm sure you've seen reviews, the Clinton review form. So that is what I'm saying. I do not have a job description, and I'm wondering if in the past there was one. You must have had one before you put the ad in the paper. So,
Well, the ad in the paper says, minimum qualifications and, if you have state certification. And that's why I guess I'm kind of behooved at your letter saying that the letter from Michael isn't telling you that this candidate was one of the best candidates for the job when he lists in his letter that the guy has state certification.
And I, as I said in my opening remark, that interpretation can be easily reached, but we also respectfully believe that one or more other interpretations are also easily reached. And for that reason, because we felt bound to stay as close to the letter of the bylaws as possible, that just wasn't possible for us to make that leap. And to kind of come back full circle to the chair's original question, I do believe it's possible if a clearer letter, a more exacting letter is sent to us, that it is reasonable and permissible to go to the 14-6. And as far as reclassification, the board is duty-bound to entertain any request put before it by the selectmen, and we would execute our duties and responsibilities accordingly.
I just want to bring up one more point too. When it's said on the state certification, which I'm sure is felt is very important, but it didn't say, that shouldn't have been the only reason the gentleman was given the position. Because in the ad, it didn't state that you had to have that. So that, that wouldn't be something that would be exemplary. There must be something else in his background that you felt was even just as important.
I agree with you.
I could go out, not could, but I could go get certified
I've
tomorrow.
always wanted someone with
You know, I mean, you know what I
In
mean.
fairness to the ad says the successful applicant must have state certification or be qualified for conditional approval per Mass General Law, Chapter 143, Section 3, 780 CMR R7.
Right.
So the ad did say you have to have state certification.
Or be eligible.
No, it didn't.
It
No,
says
sorry.
successful
Or be
candidate
eligible.
must
No,
have
yeah,
state
Mr.
certification.
Esquel.
Or,
But if you read
But you hired him because he did.
because he gets state certification.
But you hired him for a lot of other reasons. I mean, he's got to be he had.
He was a good candidate.
He
had a
did
good work
this, he
ethic.
did this.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
I'm going to make a statement similar to yours. First of all, this board, this personnel board, is not an appointing authority. We don't appoint candidates. Their job is to get information on all job openings that are non-union and that are to be posted. And they're not to be posted until after they've had conversation with the personnel board to go over job descriptions and qualifications and what the salary is going to be. And that's when these things would be straightened out before the fact. We would have had a salary set, you would have had the job description set, and everything would have been fine. Then you could have interviewed to your heart's for content. That's not what happened. That's all we're here for, is to make sure that the process is being used correctly. And if we can correct it and get this over, there's not one here, and I take affront for them. The remark that was made that this was politics at worst. Not one member here, including George Truly, has ever come before any one of you people asking to support any candidate. I have never done it in my life for anybody. And anything anybody got that's related to me, they got on their own qualification, not their brother or their uncle or their great uncle. I had a father that worked for this town for 42 years. I put 24 years into this town, and I've served this town since 1959 when I was elected to the school committee, and I've never, ever used politics. Anybody that ever says it, they don't know what they're talking about. So if it was aimed at me, I live on 21 James Street. It's in the phone book. You can call me, you can come and see me, and I'll answer any questions you have. But I don't want these people in particular. They volunteered to come onto this board, and they're trying to do the best they can. We're not tied into any appointments, regardless of what you may think. And I think that the people that made such comments should apologize to these people. Not me personally, them.
I think we ought to, try to come to a conclusion here. And I think that what we've said is that basically, basically you formalize a letter stating the exceptional qualifications, other than the board certified, so forth and so on, present a job description, and then as an appointing authority, as the Board of Selectmen, you can move to that particular grade. I believe that you could have another discussion about re-advertising, but that's up to the Board of Selectmen.
To that end.
And also, one other point, I just think that no one can ever, as far as I'm concerned, ever question the integrity of Brendan Bailey, ever.
Joe, you have a comment or a
Yeah,
question?
to that end, I'd like to make a motion. Is that fine?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we have Mr. Ward write a new letter to the Personnel Board stating that the candidate that we voted on, Mr. Herget, is exceptionally qualified due to his 3+ years' experience as Groton's Assistant Building Inspector, his daily experience in the interpretation and enforcement of zoning bylaws, his extensive knowledge and experience in residential, commercial, and industrial construction, and the fact that he was the lone candidate from an initial field of 13 that holds a Mass Certified Local Building Inspector certification.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Under discussion, I'll be opposing this motion due to the whole process being flawed. Any other comment?
Yeah, I have a comment. Because I just want to, I think from this point forward, we need to, like President Rose recommended, we need to make sure that we follow those guidelines exactly. I think it's been very informative. I think in the past, this board and other boards have perhaps not followed the guidelines of the Personnel Board for lack of not knowing, which is not an excuse. But based on that fact, I think we need to move forward at this point regarding this.
And I agree. I'd like to say that I believe we should follow those same guidelines going forward. I think there should always be rules that are followed. And now that everyone's aware of them, I think that we should do that.
And respect the autonomy of other boards as well.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, and I know we've already discussed it, but just in part of the motion to say the grading step again, just to make sure that's part of the motion.
Yes, to what I just said, I'll add then at grade 14, step 6, please.
Any other discussion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. 3-2.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
for
Thank
serving
you.
the selectmen. We appreciate it.
Thank you for...
Thank you for
Thanks for your time.
doing your explanation. Next. Through with... Any committee reports? Public comment? Mark?
Just here
two things. On the administrative bylaw committee, we're moving, as you know, two of the members serve, myself and the other members. And we're looking, hopefully in about a couple of weeks, we're going to have a revised bylaw, and we're going to go over it, and with the help of town solicitor at our next meeting, go over it and try to draft a final version of it. So I just wanted to bring the board up to speed of where we were and hopefully have it ready for this year's town meeting, so we'd be on it for this year's. But by all means, it's not a rush job. If we can't make it, we won't. We'll put it on for next year. But I just wanted to bring the board up to speed. And I believe Selectman Notaro brought up last time I was here about the approval of the, from the Attorney General's office, yes, that they actually do have to approve that at the end of, so whatever happens at town meeting, whether it's this year or next year, if, whatever happens at town meeting, if it gets rejected, then so be it. But if it passes, it does have to get approved at the Attorney General's office for the legalese, see if we went about it the right way. So I stood corrected. I didn't think we needed that, but after a lengthy discussion with the person down at the AG's office, she told me that's the way they do it, that it's not beforehand, it's actually after the town meeting. So once it's accepted, we'll go to them for approval.
I just thought it might play into that because we did with the charter.
Right,
as well,
right,
so.
correct. And so if anyone has any other questions on the administrative bylaw committee, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is it still, as you've basically just gone in and cleaned up what you have, you still haven't added anything new or?
Correct. Basically what we're going to do is anything that people want to add, they can put that on in this form as an article.
Right.
To change it. But basically what we did is we went in and cleaned up a lot of the old verbiage, took a lot of the stuff out, mixed, kind of combined some of the things with, like, I know DPW was, a lot of things were scattered, so we kind of conformed that into where it should be.
Right.
And like I say, we will, if we wrap this up by the end of the month or mid-April, we'll give everyone, usually town meetings now in June, we'll give everyone a couple months in town to read it, plenty of time to read and digest it, and if they can come to town meeting and, we'll be, obviously, I'm sure all the committee members will be there to answer any questions anyone has.
And you still are going to, are you going to do a list that kind of shows what you got rid of and?
Yeah, I think we're going to make it really reader-friendly. We're going to have something up front, tell you what's elected, what's appointed, just basically what is now, but we're just going to highlight it so it's, people reading through it will be right at the first few pages. They'll read through and they'll know what's elected, what's appointed.
Yeah.
Who the appointing authority is, and then even with like licensing and fees, those type of things, who's responsible, board. Those are usually the Board of Selectmen that would set all the fees and licenses.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, for the effort.
And one other thing, the Recycling Commission, we're actually going to meet this coming Monday. Myself, Mike Ward, and Steve Mendoza. I know Steve's on the commission with me, and the rest of the members. We're looking, I don't want to speak for the commission, but we usually, the last Saturday of every April, we usually do a transfer station day, bring all your stuff down. So that's what we're looking to do this year. This year would be April 29th, would be the last Saturday of April. So that's what we're looking to do. And obviously, this meeting is going to be this Monday. That'd be March 20th. And it's going to be at, I believe it was 5 o'clock, Mike, or 5:30? 5:30. At 5:30, and it's going to be here in the upper conference room. So obviously, the public's welcome to attend.
Right there.
But also, we're working on expanding some offerings over at the center as well, too, for cardboard and different things. Too.
Yeah, I know, Mike had mentioned that to me. So we'll be discussing different vendors and what they can provide to us.
I know that just a suggestion for the recycling committee, whatever, and you've done it in the past, Mark, in great fashion, as far as, if it's the 29th, that we get some flyers out to the different local markets and stuff, outlining the cost of goods, throwaways. Or just,
No, the advertising shoot, you got to get it out there and the information. You have to inform people what the rates are, put it in, both of the local newspapers, that type of thing. So we've always been good at doing that. We want to make sure everyone's well aware of it.
The last couple of years have been pretty active.
Yeah, we've had some.
Use volunteers that day.
Yes, volunteers, yeah. So, we'll be soliciting a lot of things that day, so. But thank you. So I just wanted to bring the board up to speed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All right,
Mark.
keep up the good work. Take care.
Any other comment?
Mr. Chairman, Selectmen, my name is Jeffrey Ring, 31 Maple Street. I was unable to get on the tonight's agenda, but I have requested to be on the next meeting's agenda to discuss my concerns with the upcoming budget proposals, budget submissions, and how the enterprise funds will be represented. And I appreciate to discuss that at your next meeting. But my concern for tonight is that I'd like to know what the status is of the request for proposal of the rifle ranges. I know there are several organizations and a couple individuals who are interested in preparing to respond to that RFP. So if we could find when we could anticipate seeing something that we could respond to.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I know we've got it under review with solicitor, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's still several legal issues that I'm looking into, so I can't give you a definitive date tonight, but at your next meeting, I can let you know when that would be.
Okay, terrific.
We'll see you at our next meeting.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Our next thing on the agenda will be a executive session on Article 3 regarding the CDAG grant contract. So after that, we'll be signing a warrant and any other.
Yeah, and they're just not going into too much detail because of negotiations, but again, I put another document that arrived today on the board's desk, and I don't know if that's something the board wanted to address tonight or how we wanted to proceed.
Yeah, well, actually, so there will be two executive sessions, one under Article 3 and a second under Article 6 in regards to land acquisition potential. So there will be two executive sessions. With that, motion to go into executive session under Article 3. Is there a second? Second. Roll call vote. Bob? Aye. Bubby? Steve? Aye. Joe?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Have a great St. Patrick's Day.